Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin Bartley and I coordinate the NCI project for the state of Missouri, and I am so excited to be talking to you today about this project. So next slide, please. So today we are going to talk in detail about what NCI is and the purpose of it and our history in the project. We will also talk about the different kinds of NCI surveys, along with how we pull the random sample, the criteria for eligibility, along with the benchmarks for the number that you have to meet to be included in national reporting. We will also talk about how the data is used and why it is important. You know, I get a lot of questions about, okay, do you all really do anything with the data? And yes, we do. We use the data in a lot of different ways, which we will talk about. And also, there are certain situations where we do reach out to support coordinators for assistance. So I will go over that at the very end. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is NCI? So NCI is a national survey project. It started in 1997, and it is a collaboration between the Human Services Research Institute and the National Association of State Directors of Developmental Disabilities Services, and also participating states. So this is a voluntary project. States are not required to participate, but it's really exciting that so many do participate, because that allows us a better picture of the IDD population across states. So as I said, it's a voluntary effort, and we really use it to measure our system performance and track performance over time. Next slide, please. So the purpose of NCI. So before NCI started, there really wasn't a consistent way for states to track system performance, and there was not a widely used data set on the characteristics of the IDD population. So NCI was started to establish a nationally recognized set of performance and outcome indicators for the service system reliable, and it allows for state comparisons and national benchmarks of system-level performance. So what that means is we can compare how we are doing to other states, and we can also compare how we are doing to national averages. And that's really helpful, not only to understand how we are doing, but also we can say, okay, well, this other state is doing really well in this area, and we are not. So let's reach out to them and see what they're doing and get some ideas of what we can do. So it really allows for the networking with other states and just being able to bounce ideas off of other states and see what kind of resources they have. And that's really important to providing quality services. Next slide, please. So Missouri has participated in NCI since 2007, 2008. The survey year follows our fiscal year. So the survey year goes from July 1 to July 30th. So that's, June 30th. So that is why you will notice when we talk about survey years, we will say 2007, 2008. Because the survey year involves both of those calendar years. So I will talk about the different types of surveys in detail in just a second, but we have participated in the adult InPerson every year since 2007, 2008. That is a survey that we do face-to-face with individuals with IBD. We also have the family surveys, which are mail-out surveys that are sent to families of individuals receiving services. We have participated in that on and off since 2007, 2008. And then there is also the staff stability survey, which is a survey of provider agencies. And we have participated in that every year since 2015. Next slide, please. So we are now going to talk about the different types of surveys that Missouri participates in. There are 4 total. So the first one is the adult InPerson survey, and this is the face-to-face survey with the individual. Because of COVID-19, we have been conducting these WebEx. We have recently gone back to in-person survey. And the criteria for this survey is that individuals must be at least 18. They must have an I-do-do diagnosis. They must have an open episode of care with the division, and they must receive at least one service in addition to support coordination. So these surveys are conducted by regional office quality assurance specialists, and they are conducted as part of the quality services review, which is another review that the division does that looks at the measured quality outcomes and if they are present in individuals' lives and what needs to be done to better support individuals. So the NCI, the InPerson is done as a part of that process. We conduct 430 of these surveys every year. We must conduct at least 400 to be included in NCI's national benchmarking and reporting. So if we don't meet that number, NCI doesn't even take the time to analyze our data because we don't have enough surveys. So we really push and really work hard to meet that number every year, and those surveys are conducted throughout the state. Next slide, please. So then we have the family surveys, and there are two kinds of family surveys. There is the adult family survey, which is sent to the families of adults with IDD, so age 18 and over. And then there's the child family survey, which is sent to the families of children with IDD. So this criteria is similar to the adult InPerson. The individual with the disability must have an open episode of care, an I-do-do diagnosis. They must receive at least one service in addition to support coordination. And this is the thing that is unique about the family surveys is the individual with IDD must live at home with the person who is still out the survey. So they must live in the family home. Again, this survey is not completed by the individual. It is completed by a family member of the individual. And we contract with the University of Missouri Kansas City Institute for Human Development for survey administration. So they actually send out the surveys for us. They mail them out for us. We mail out 1,500 every year. which sounds like a lot, I know, but with it being a middle out survey, the response rate is pretty low. So you have to middle out that middle of the surveys to try to hit at least 185 back of each survey type. And you have to meet that number to run the size to meet NCI's minimum for the product. So when you mail out the surveys, the families have the option. They can either fill out the survey on paper and mail it back to you in InPerson, or they can go online and complete the survey, whichever way they decide to do it. Next slide, please. So then, the first survey you participate in is the staff stability survey. And it is a survey that is emailed to providers of residential, in-home, and non-residential supports, which non-residential supports could be they have a day program. It could be employment services or some type of community program. So we send those surveys to providers to ask them about the direct support professional workforce, and we ask questions about wages, about benefits, turnover, those types of questions, because as you all know, there is a shortage of directors across the state. So this survey really helps to age what that workforce looks like, how they are doing, and that information is used by the division to come up with ways to try to retain directors, as well as educate legislators on what the workforce looks like, how much they're being paid, which we all know that they are underpaid. So we use that information for those types of efforts. So the staff stability survey is emailed to eligible providers, and they had until the end of June to complete those. We send over 400 survey invites each year, and we need at least 200 employees to meet NCI's minimum for the product. Of course, though, we always want to hit as many as possible. Next slide, please. Okay, so why does this all matter? What do we do with it? Well, we do a lot with the reports. So to be included in their national reports, we must meet their minimum benchmarks, which are listed here in this box. We've already kind of talked about them, that for the adult InPerson, we have to have 430 by the end of the survey year to be included in national reporting. For the family surveys, the adult family, and the child family, we must have at least 185 of each survey. Of course, we always want to, exclude that because the more completed surveys that you had, the more reliable our data is, the more usable our data is. And then for the staff stability, we need at least 230 completed surveys. At Kindle, we always want to beat that number. So then NCI releases their national reports. They have the averages for each state along with the NCI averages, which the NCI averages is the national average. It's the average for all participating states. And this data, again, is so important because it allows us to look at the different areas and how we are performing over time. And like I mentioned earlier, it allows us to compare all results to other states and national averages. And then we use this information to set division priorities and to support initiatives, which I will talk about in just a second. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So, like I said, the data helps us to identify areas where we as a state are performing well and areas in which need a little bit of attention. So once we know the areas that need some improvement, we are able to set priorities and we are able to create new division initiatives. So, as you all have heard, I'm sure, is the low employment rates in Missouri. So, nationally, the rate of individuals who have individual employment is pretty low. But in Missouri, it is consistently really, really low. So we have been able to take that information and monitor the percentage of individuals who have paid employment and those who receive employment services and try to support individuals to get community jobs. Also, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of the Technology First initiative. Technology First really encourages the use of technology supports to help individuals be more independent and to be safe. And in certain situations, technology can act as a substitute for in-person support sometimes. So as a part of that initiative, there really was not any data to support it. We really didn't have a good idea of how much people use technology. So through the MCI surveys, we were able to add technology questions to aid how much people use technology, what kind of technology they use, how it's funded, and so on. And that's just one example of how we are able to add questions to the MCI surveys. Next slide, please. So this is one example of some of the MCI data, and this is on employment. So in this first box, it's kind of small, but it shows the percentage of individuals with IUD in Missouri who have a paid job in the community. The brown line is the national average, the red is the Missouri averages. As you can see, we are consistently below the national averages for individuals who have a paid job in the community. I do want to point out, you will notice that there is no national data for 2020. That is because there is no national data that was due to the COVID-19 pandemic. They only released state data for that year. But anyway, if you move on to the second box, this is the percentage of individuals who don't have a paid job in the community that they say that they would like to have one. So again, the brown line is the national average, the red is the Missouri average. And again, you know, we are lower than the national average, but still a pretty large proportion of people who don't have jobs say that they want one. Then, if you go to the bottom box, this is the percentage that have community employment as a whole in the IS2. So, as you can see again, we are consistently below the national average. So if you look at all of this as a whole, we have a low percentage of people who have paid jobs in the community, yet a large proportion say that they would like to have a job in the community, but it is not something that is commonly included in the IS2s. So this type of data, of course, caught our attention and has spearheaded a lot of our employment efforts at the division. Next slide, please. So this is another example of the data. I was talking about the technology first initiative and how we have added questions to the surveys to support this initiative. And this is just a couple of measures. We have a whole bunch of technology questions, but these are just a few to give you an idea. So we ask about the use of specialized technology supports, and we also ask about funding and if technology is needed individual needs. Now, the only thing I do want to point out is that our ends, if you look right below the questions that it has, the N, that is the number of respondents. So the respondents to the questions are pretty low, which tells us that not many people are currently using technology supports. So as the technology first initiative progresses, we hope that that number will increase. Next slide, please. So a lot of people do not realize this, that MCI is also used in the budget. So it is used in budget measures related to quality. So this includes data from the InPerson survey, the adult family survey, and the staff stability survey. And the measures are related to support coordination, in-home supports, and residential services. And they are used just to show over time how the division is performing in certain areas. Next slide, please. So we also use the data for stakeholder education. And in my opinion, this is one of the most important ways that use the data that has take feedback from the individuals. So you have the responsibility to educate stakeholders on the feedback that they're giving us and to also educate them on how you use it. So, all of our stakeholder feedback is based on the result quality outcomes. I don't know if you all are familiar with those or not. I'm sure you are, as they are part of the IS2 guide. But the result quality outcomes is a framework that promotes a focus on the individual and what their personal values are and their right to make choices in their lives, and also that their health and safety needs are, that they need to be included in community activities, and as well as self-advocacy skills. So, these outcomes have been used to create educational materials for individuals, their families, their staff, and pretty much anyone who is interested in learning about the outcomes. So we have the NO2O report and the result quality outcomes complexes. And again, our focus is really to educate individuals on why the division uses NCI and the result quality outcomes, how we use the data, what the data means, and then we also provide relevant resources that go along with the outcomes. So I am going to take a little bit of time right now to talk to you about the NO2O and reports and the result quality outcomes talking points shows that I really want you to know is these resources were created for individuals, and they are all available out on the internet. So I encourage all of you to use those resources when you do the support coordination that has, again, they are created for individuals and their knowledge. So we want to make sure that they know those resources are available to them. Next slide, please. Okay, so the NO2O and reports, of course, NO2O stands for result quality outcomes. These used to be called the equivalence reports. We changed the name to reflect the fact that these are for individuals. Also, So some of the reports are pretty wrong. So other planets didn't really apply to some of them. So we changed the name to NOQO and VIEW reports. So these are user-friendly reports that highlight the measured quality outcomes, risk supporting data, and resources. So, to be completely honest, we all know that looking at data cannot do that much done. It can be a little bit boring. So these reports are a way to take the data, make them easy to read, and honestly, to make the data look a little more pretty and fun to look at. So we have reports on the different outcomes. We don't have reports on all of the outcomes yet, but I am working on it. But anyway, the first report is NCI and the measured quality outcomes. This report very thoughtfully goes over the outcomes with relevant data and resources. We then have the safety and security report. And this one really looks at abuse and neglect and what the predictors of abuse and neglect are. And it provides some examples through the power and control and quality rules of what abuse and neglect situations might look like and how behaviors that need to be changed to promote a more equal relationship between caregivers and individuals. We also have a report on advocacy and engagement. So those cover the topic of dignity risk, self-determination, self-advocacy, guardianship, and supported decision making. And again, it has related data and resources. We also had a report on daily life and employment. It is our newest report and is probably my favorite out of all of them. It follows the life trajectory that was created by Florida the Life Cross. So it goes through the different life stages and it really emphasizes helping an individual find their good life and the fact that the good life is going to look different for everyone. So it goes through the different life stages and what the possible consequences considerations or the oops statement, and then it also has relevant resources and data. We also have a healthy living report, which goes over healthy living topics that are important not only for people with disabilities, that everyone lives, and it provides nutritional considerations. It goes over the physical 5+1, and it also talks about medications, assistive technology that can help with health and healthy living. And it also talks about medical self-advocacy, and then it also has some COVID-19 resources. So that report is also available out there. Then we have the full report, which is a really long report because it crosswalks all of the NCI data that we have, as well as the Missouri Quality Outcomes Survey data. It takes all of that data, which is a lot, and crosswalks it with the Missouri Quality Outcomes. And one thing that I did not mention is here we have listed the Missouri Quality Outcomes Survey. That survey is separate from NCI. It is a survey that we send out to individuals receiving support coordination only. Because as you all know, we have a lot of individuals who do not receive any services but support coordination. So we have that survey for them also. Next slide, please. We also have the Missouri Quality Outcomes Talking Point Series. This was created to correspond with the NOQO and RU reports. So not everyone runs the same way. Some people run best by looking at a report. Other people run best by watching a video. So we really wanted to accommodate people of different learning styles. So we created this video series to go along with the NOQO and RU reports. And we are in the process of creating these in collaboration with UNKC IHD. And they're pretty cool videos. All of them are relatively short, usually around 10 minutes or less, and they just highlight each them and how we use them and why we use them. So we have 6 episodes available so far, and those can be accessed at this link. And again, I really want you all to know that this and the MO2O and Blue reports are made for individuals, so please share these as much as you want with whoever you like. Next slide, please. Okay, so now that we have talked about what NCI is and how we use it, I want to go over situations in which support coordinators may be asked to help. So you all are not directly involved in NCI, but we might reach out to you in certain situations. So that the adult InPerson survey, and this is the face-to-face survey with individuals, which I will do. The survey has a section called the background information section, and this section covers individual demographics and services and just some other details about the individual's life. The thing about this particular section is that for the most part, you cannot ask the individual for that information. That section is to be completed by the regional office QAS before the actual survey. So that information, a lot of it comes from SUMRA. A lot of it comes from other state records, and some of it also comes from the individual's IS2. So you may be contacted by the quality assurance specialist, and then they say, hey, we are going to complete an NCI QFR on so-and-so. Can you please send me a copy of their IS2? Also, with this survey, when we schedule the survey, we reach out to the individual via telephone to see if they are interested in participating and to schedule the survey. So if for some reason the QAS cannot get a hold of the individual, they might reach out to you to say, hey, I am trying to get a hold of so-and-so. This is the phone number I've been using. Do you have a different some number or a different row that can hold of the person. So those are two rows that you might be asked to help or provide information for the adult in-person survey. Also, if you have an individual who has said that they have been selected for the survey, please encourage them to participate, because their feedback is really important to us. Also, with the family surveys, some of you may have heard from me in the past through email. The family surveys are sent to family members of individuals receiving services, and to make sure that the individual is living in the family home, which is a requirement. I go into similar and I look at the individual's address and I compare their address to the family member's address under consumer resources. And I do that to make sure that the addresses match up, to make sure the individual does live with family. If I look in similar and those addresses do not match up, I would then send it to the regional office and say, hey, does this individual live at home or do they not? So then, a lot of times, I know that's when the regional office reaches out to you all to check. So I know that process is really, really tedious, and I know that you all probably get tired as well from me when I am working on those addresses, but it is really, really helpful when similar is kept up to date, and it's easy to see that those addresses match up. Or if the individual does not live at home, it is really helpful if the living arrangement in similar is kept up to date. So that is how I may ask you all for assistance with the family surveys, is keeping those addresses for the individual and the family up to date. Also, if a family mentions to you that they received one of the surveys, can please encourage them to fill it out, because this is the survey that we send out in the mail, and the response rates for those surveys are typically low. So we need as many surveys back as we can get. So if you have someone who mentions that they received one, please encourage them to send it back. Also, with the staff stability survey, that is the one that is sent to providers. There really is not a situation in which a support coordinator would be asked for help with that survey. However, if you hear a provider say that they have received one, please encourage them to complete it. Because again, you need as many surveys as possible. Next slide, please. So that is the end of my presentation. It's been really awesome to present to you all. Does anyone have any questions for me? I don't see anything in the chat so far. Okay. Well, that is my email address listed there. You can get a hold of me anytime if you do have questions. And I really appreciate you all taking the time to watch this presentation and to learn more about InPerson. Thank you.